Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our Married to Real Estate podcast. I'm Kelly DeMail,
And I am Bruce DeMail.
and we own DeMail Real Estate here in Rochester, Minnesota. And today we're really going to be digging into a topic that we get asked about all the time, and that is new construction. Should you build? Is it worth it? Is it worth the wait, the time frame, of building? And what kind of surprises should I expect? Those types of questions we're going to get into today.
And we're zooming in on one of our favorite communities, which is Montgomery Meadows. It's right on the edge of Rochester in Byron. It's a growing community. It's about 3.5 years old. One of our favorites.
Yeah, it's got a lot to offer, so we're excited to tell you about that. But of course, like any development in our area, it's not a one size fits all. So how do you determine what's the best fit for you? So in this episode, we're going to break down some of the pros and cons of new construction. We're going to share with you some of the things that we're seeing in today's market, and we're going to help you figure out if building new is right for you, especially in a place like Montgomery Meadows.
Right. But before we get into all of that good stuff, we need you to subscribe, like, comment, and ask questions if you have them, because we respond to every question that we get asked. And it's really important. It makes us feel good if you just click that like button and show us a little bit of love. So
we like feeling good.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so let's dig into this. So again, we'll just give you a quick refresher. Bruce and I have been in the real estate business I've been in it about 28 years. You've been in it, what, 21?
Yeah, pretty close.
I actually started, a part of the beginning of my whole real estate career was being a builder's rep for the third largest custom home builder here in Minnesota. So I really learned the process of building from the ground up and understanding the terminology. That is a very big difference when you're looking at just resale homes, something that's been built, to understanding really the whole process of a home that's been built from the ground up and watching that happen. So I love new construction. I love the whole process of it, but it is not for everybody. So let's start by talking about the difference between a spec home and a build from scratch. Okay. So Bruce, what's a spec home?
So spec homes are generally homes that builders build, they design, they pick out all of the lighting and appliances, and everything's done for you. You can just walk into it and it's turnkey and you can own it. And we've got a couple of Montgomery Meadows as well.
Yep, absolutely. So you might hear references to model homes. There could be a difference where a builder just builds a model and they don't sell the model. They're just selling from it. So you can see their finishes, their quality of workmanship, or they're building spec homes. They're building homes that are done. You can move right in and it's all good to go. But like you said, all those choices have been made already. So as the buyer, you don't necessarily get to choose your lights or your countertops and all the pretty stuff. So that's kind of one of the drawbacks. If you are someone who really likes to put a personal touch on your home, you may definitely want to be someone who builds from scratch, where you get to pick all that out. Spec homes are super valuable to the people who they're paralyzed by decisions. And I mean, you and I have built a couple homes in our life. I am someone that I love to pick out my own stuff. I love it. But you're the guy that'd be like, yep, that's good, that's good, that's good. And I'm the like, oh, gotta think about it. What did I change our lights 4 different times, I think?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? By the time I'm done and I make my decision, it's good. But a lot of people are paralyzed by that thought of having to pick every single thing out in their house. But there are people that they don't always see eye to eye for what they want. And that can really make this process daunting. We always joke about it. We hope you're not divorced by the end of building your home, because there's a lot of stress into making all those decisions.
Exactly.
Having that spec home might be good. You don't have to worry about it.
Well, it's the easy route, right? The spec home is, you get everything brand new. You get everything from the benefits of the new construction house. You just don't have to go through all of the stress and all the time. You don't have to wait for your new construction home. Plus you get into plans and layout, and if you're building your own, and a lot of people are not visual, and that's not a bad thing, but a lot of people can't look at a set of plans and mentally walk through the house and know what it's going to look like, so that's something that they have to consider as well.
Right. I will say that was our case. Like, I can pick out colors and design and blah, 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 blah. But you're really good at the spatial, one-dimensional plan and being able to really understand how that space works, where I got to walk it off. I remember us putting
Used a
tape
lot
on
of
the
tape, yeah.
floor and creating, this is how big it is. Because I think the statistic is somewhere around 80% of people are not visual, right? So think about that. There's only 20% of the people that are like, yeah, I got it. That looks good. Perfect. Check.
Right.
Where the other 80% are struggling,
Yeah.
right? To
Well,
understand that.
and
So
that's why the spec homes or model homes are so popular, because people can just walk in, they can look at it and enjoy the new construction part of it.
yeah, so definitely that's a benefit, right? Spec homes, move-in ready, all the decisions are made for you. You just get the pretty shiny new house, right?
Right.
Building from scratch obviously allows you to have a little bit more control over what's inside and all the design features and the layout and all the little special tweaks that might fit you and your lifestyle, which is great. But obviously that takes a lot longer and there's a lot more decisions that go into it. And the other thing, financing, like you're buying a spec home that's already built. It's a regular loan. You go in, you buy the house. It's just like buying any other resale home because it's already built from a financing timeline standpoint. Whereas you're building a brand new home, there has to be a construction loan put in place and the process just takes longer. The loan type is a little bit different through the process. And then obviously just the decision making is a lot more complex when you build from scratch. However, I know we're making it sound bad.
No.
It's so much fun. I think you either are a love-hate person with new construction. Love it, you love it, but I get it. Some people are like, not for me.
Yeah.
So
Well, and part of the problem could be that spouses or significant others just aren't on the same page. They
yeah, like
can't
we just talked
decide
about.
on picking stuff out. So yeah,
That's a good point. Because I would just say that's something to think about, you guys, if you are deciding that new construction is the route that you want to take, really sitting down with your significant other, if there's someone else involved, obviously, in the process, and really having these conversations even before you go sit down to meet with the builder, so that you at least have the basics of, do we agree on the style of house and the size and the number of bedrooms and baths and the vibe of the house, is it more modern? Is it not? You can answer a lot of those questions just by having conversations early before you get in front of the builder. You can already have a lot of that done, if that makes
right,
sense.
right. Well, they also need to have a pricing discussion. I mean, I think
Yes.
you need a do not exceed number, because that's definitely going to help the builder and your real estate agent, because you can spend 3 times as much as you want to spend or are able to spend in a heartbeat. It's crazy how things add up
Yeah.
quickly.
Well, and we'll probably get into that a little bit further down the line. So I kind of want to just stay on track here from a process standpoint. So we talked about the difference between, here's a home that's already built, brand new construction, it's already up, or you start from the ground up and you build your own. But what are some of the biggest advantages of buying new construction homes versus resale homes?
So probably the ability to customize it. I mean, you get to pick your stuff out, like everything, right?
Well, let's touch on that,
Okay.
because not all builders are created equal, everybody. Buyer beware. So when we look at the builders that are in our market, we have, I'm going to use the word a track builder, right? They put up the same house, 20 of them in a row. You get 2 packages. This is what you get. And that's probably more affordable. We have custom home builders, which that's where you're talking. You get to choose everything. You're sitting down with that builder. You're designing your floor plan. They're tweaking everything. It is 100% customized to you. And now we're seeing in our area, we're getting some larger national builders that are coming in that have basic floor plans. They'll have a handful of floor plans that you can pick from. You may have minimal options to change that floor plan. And then you might have 4 or 5 different packages of different kinds of finishes or colors, but you don't have a ton of customization. And there are big differences. Some of them may say this is a custom built home, But in reality, I will tell you guys, there is a huge difference in quality when you are looking at a true custom builder versus here's 4 or 5 custom packages you can pick from. There's a big difference there. So buyer beware, and I'm not knocking one over the other. I'm just saying, what are your goals for the home that you want to buy or build when it comes to new construction? Are you someone who is more concerned with quality and you want your home to look as great 20 years from now as it does today, and have great resale? Or are you more concerned with the fact that I just want to be able to say I got a brand new construction home, it was way more affordable, but I don't care that in 5 to 10 years it's going to look like it's been lived in hard, and the resale won't be there like a true custom home.
Well, I think part of the hard thing is, let's just take price off the table for a minute. I mean, you could go into one of these homes from a national builder that does it cheaper and quicker, and they buy in bulk. That's why you have less ability to customize it and pick your stuff. But you go into one of their houses and look at kitchen cabinets that potentially are made out of plywood, and they're painted and they look great, right?
Right.
They look probably as good as the
You
custom
can
home
put
builder.
lipstick on a pig, but the pig is still the pig, right? I mean, it looks great, but how will it hold up
Right.
long term?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the custom home builders come in, because your cabinets are going to be real wood. It's going to be, stuff that holds up for a long time. So,
Okay, so customization options, like you said, that is a huge benefit of new construction in general versus I'm going to look at this person's home that they've lived in for 20 years and they made it the way they wanted, and now I hope it fits me. When you get to customize, the best thing about that is you are building for your needs and your family and your lifestyle. Like right now, we're working with some clients that they want to build and put a golf simulator in their house because he's a big golfer. So love that, where you might not be able to do that with an existing home. They don't have room for that, or with maybe a track builder or a national builder where they're not going to accommodate those types of fun requests that fit your lifestyle.
it'd be my lifestyle, but we'd have to add on to our house.
Yes, we have a golf course right over here. But
That's
anyway, we're not putting one in the house.
no.
So another big advantage that I see is being able to build energy efficient features or smart home features into your home versus either not having the ability to retrofit an existing home, or you're just not able to add some of those things that you want. Whereas building new, there's lots of fun things you can do, and you can make your home super energy efficient, which is going to obviously save you money in the long run.
Right. And you're not just talking about things that can be add-ons like a Ring doorbell or a
Right.
new refrigerator with the computer glass front. I
Right.
mean,
Well,
because
you
those
could
can be
add that, I
retrofitted.
suppose. You
Right.
could always add a different refrigerator, but a perfect example would be, I know John Cravath with Cravath Homes right now. He's, building out at Montgomery Meadows. And what he does is he will pre-wire every garage in his new builds for electric car chargers. If you go buy an existing resale home and you have an electric car and you need that charger put in place, it's not that you can't do it. It's just now all the wiring will be external. Like it'll be visible. You'll see it. They'll cover it, but it'll be coming down the wall in your garage, and it won't just be built in nice, right? So there's the advantage of all those things will be just built in, invisible, kind of part of the whole new home versus you trying to retrofit things and making them look like they're add-ons later in an existing home.
Right.
If that makes
Right.
sense.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Okay. What else?
The warranties. How about those? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of people aren't even aware of this, but per the state of Minnesota, and we're just obviously talking Minnesota here, when you build or you buy a new construction home, we have what are called statutory warranties that are attached to that home. And statutory means law, by law, right? So Minnesota law requires that when a builder builds the home, they have to offer you, the owner or the buyer, these warranties on the property. Okay. So first, we have a 1 year, which covers a lot of, and I'm going to talk in very layman's terms here, people, and I'm happy to, if you want to reach out, I can send you the exact statutes and you can read them for all the detail, but I'll just talk in very general terms here. The 1 year, you've lived there a year, the house has settled a little bit, maybe there's some nail pops, there's a couple cracks because things have shifted as the home has settled. I mean, there's lots of hands that go into building a home. Things aren't going to ever be perfect. It's just that 1 year of like, let's come in and just kind of retouch up now that the house has settled a little bit.
And let's touch on that real quick, that's normal.
All normal things.
The settling, the nail pops, the maybe little cracks, things like that. That's all normal in a new construction house. It's not like you're going to move in and not have that happen.
For sure, you guys, they're digging a big hole in the ground, right? They're removing all that dirt. They're putting in your basement in your house, packing all that dirt back in. I mean, things just have to kind of settle back in. That is very, very normal. Okay?
Yeah, especially in our part of the world where we get some extremely cold weather and snow and things expand and contract. So that's a normal thing.
Absolutely. And then there's a 2-year on all of the mechanical systems. So your electrical, your HVAC, your plumbing, all of that stuff, obviously a 2-year warranty if something isn't working on those. Okay. And then you have a 10-year on basically the structure. You have
like your foundation, right?
Yeah. And the workmanship, the workmanship and the structure of the home. So you've got that 10-year overall warranty. Now, again, lots of fine print, blah, 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 blah. You can go in and read it all if you want. But basically, it's just nice to know that they're there and those warranties are state mandated. So you do get a little bit of peace of mind versus I'm buying a house that's 20 years old and you get what you get.
Right. It's the same thing when you go to Home Depot and you buy a grill. That comes with a warranty. And the warranty is awesome if something goes wrong. Or you buy a new appliance. Same thing. You got some bugs?
I just had a fly. So weird. You guys, I'm sitting on my 3-season porch. I must have had a door or something open earlier. It flew right in my ear.
Great.
Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah. So no worries. Yeah. Anything else on the warranties?
No, okay. But I do think that's a big benefit. So it's definitely a thumbs up for new construction when it comes to that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But obviously there's some cons because you kind of mentioned this earlier, not necessarily about hidden costs, but just costs in general. So let's talk about maybe the pitfalls of building when it comes to your budget. And then let's talk about maybe what hidden costs might happen or delays like that buyers should be aware of when it comes to, the building process.
Right.
So you started and I cut you off earlier. Talk a little bit more about like the budget.
Yes. So it's very important and people know what they can spend with the help of their lender, but it's very important to pick a number and not go over that number unless you have available cash that you won't need to finance. And the reason we harp on that a lot with people that are interested in new construction is that when you start going in and picking out appliances and flooring and countertops, cabinetry, and everything that goes into the house, the builder does build in some allowances. If you're building a $500,000 house, you might have, I don't know, take a guess, $15,000 for appliances, $10,000.
I was going to say
$10,000. You can very quickly go to an appliance store and spend $10,000 on really nice appliances that you really like, and you forget about your washer and dryer.
Mm-hmm.
So there's extra money there. Right. So you got to be very conscientious on stuff like that.
Yeah, I think there's 2 parts to this that I see. So what you're saying is when you guys meet with a builder, if you're going to build from scratch, you're going to have conversations with this builder. They're going to ask, hey, do you cook a lot? Do you want high-end appliances? Do you not care? And based on how you answer a lot of those questions, they're going to build in a certain amount of money for you to spend on countertops or for appliances or for lighting. And so if you've got expensive taste, you want to share that with the builder so that their allowances can be more realistic. If you're working with a builder who has super low allowances in there to help keep the price look low, and so you say, yeah, I'll build with you, and then you get into the process and you go to pick out your appliances and this $2,000 isn't going to get me anything. I mean, it looked good up front, but it's not realistic. So having the conversations about what kind of your goals and your tastes are is going to help the builder give you accurate and more realistic allowances. But the second part, like when you and I built, we sat down and said, all right, here is our budget. Like you start adding more stuff in there and I'm going to throat punch you. Like and I'm that girl. Don't go over this price. And you're more willy-nilly like, hey, as long as we're doing it, we might as well add in this. And it's like, next thing you know, you've added this and you've added this and you've added this. And we're now, 50 grand over budget or 100 grand over budget. And you're like, whoa, like, how did we get here? Right. Having those conversations together to say, okay, is this our hard and fast number? Being mindful of really trying to stay within that budget is going to help.
It's like taking somebody to look at a $500,000 house when they can afford a $300,000, right? You see all the nice stuff that you could get when you're doing new construction. You see all the new stuff and the pretty stuff that you put in the house, and that comes with a cost. And just because it's new doesn't mean it has to be top of the line.
Okay, so we talked about unexpected, maybe upgrades or wanting to kind of reach for the stars, and those can add up quickly. Let's talk about delays. This is something that frustrates a lot of people when they're building a house. A builder told me it was going to take 6 months or 8 months, and we still got 2 more months to go yet. It's hard because you're excited and you want to get in this house, and you're probably making plans for closing on the home you're selling or getting movers lined up. This happened to us.
Yeah.
We were 3 months longer than we should have been on our house, and we had to figure out some interim stuff. Our house had sold.
Where we're going to stay.
Right. We're going to be homeless. We had to figure out where we're going to put our stuff. So just understanding that there is no hard and fast rule with new construction, because there are things out of the builder's control. There are things in the builder's control and there are things out of the builder's control that can add to unexpected delays. Weather being one of them, especially in our area here. We could be in the middle of winter. You get some pretty severe, tragic weather. People aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, on the property. Or we get a ton of rain. That can affect a lot of stuff with getting equipment on site and things like that. So weather can be a delay. Materials. Look at COVID. Man, when COVID hit, these poor builders, like 25 weeks out to get windows.
Right.
It's right there. That's what, 4 months, or 3 months, right, or whatever. Right. So that's throwing a wrench into the works that, sometimes you just don't have control over. And then, of course, labor shortages or people, right? I mean, we all know that we need more people going into the trades right now. And so some of these contractors are short on help. And so that is going to delay being able to maybe do their portion of the build process in a timely fashion. And unfortunately, the way it works is it's this little chain. So this got to happen before this guy can come in. And if this guy can't now make it for another 3 weeks, that pushes this guy off, but he might be already promised to another project. So it could snowball.
But I think the big thing that people have to understand is that delays, if there's a weather delay, let's say, and people can't work on your project for 3 days, it doesn't just delay your closing potentially 3 days. It could delay your closing 3 weeks based on what you just said, and trying to now re-establish the timeline with all of the subs. So it causes it's a big snowball effect.
Yeah. And obviously, you always need to be in open communication with your builder, and they don't want these delays either, right? So you just still have to work as a team, you guys. It can be frustrating, but you just need to know that those things, they're guaranteed to happen. That's all I can say.
Exactly.
And then the other thing when it comes to money are some of those extra things like window treatments or landscaping. You might get a landscaping allowance that covers maybe just some basic things around the house. But if you want to add more trees or you put a fire pit in, if you're not working with a custom builder who can build all of that stuff in to the initial price, you've got to factor in those are costs afterwards. And what that typically means is it's then cash out of pocket because you weren't able to finance that all into the total package. So those are just things people, I think, aren't aware of.
That's why I kept adding things when we were building so we could just finance it in.
Yeah. We were almost divorced after that
Yeah,
first build.
that's another
Oof.
story. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what should buyers look for in a builder's agreement to protect themselves.
The first thing I think would be they need to establish the timelines, and they need to be very clear on that. And you brought it up before, you need to have constant ongoing communication with the builder. And you also need to know if there's any penalties that you as a buyer are going to impose on the builder if there's delays.
Right. So not a lot of builders do that, but they probably do have some kind of clause in there, that relates to, major delays, right?
Yeah.
So you want to look for that just so that you have some kind of understanding. Like, I get things are out of the builder's control that might cause delays, but we also don't want to give them just free range to just take their time either. So I'm willing to give you a little grace here, but what if?
Yeah.
What if we're 5 months past our due date here and,
Yeah, exactly. Another super important thing that I just thought of was the pricing. You need to be very transparent, or the builder needs to be very transparent with you about the pricing and the detailed specs of the house. And that pricing will also show what we talked about before is the allowances for all of the custom things that you're going to put in the house.
Right. So generally when you guys work with a custom builder, you're going to get your plans so that what the house looks like, the drawings of the house, and then you're going to get what are called the specs or the specifications. And that's just a list of everything that's going in the house down to the type of furnace, the brand, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to list out everything. They're going to include all the allowances for the different things in your home. So again, kind of having discussions early with your family about what you need and what you want, being very clear with the builder uh, will help them put together the most accurate and most transparent pricing. But now, what happens when you're like a Bruce to Mail who adds in 20 things? This is one of the things you want to ask the builder is, how do you handle those changes or those additions? Because there are some builders that, they'll do some changes, but they won't keep doing changes because some things they can't. Once you get through a certain point in the process, we can't now go back and change certain things, right? Or, yeah, we'll allow you to do it, and here's how we'll handle it. We'll do a change order to the paperwork, or we'll just add it all up at the end. We'll just have you pay in cash. So you just want to find out what's the process for any changes we make after we have the original approved set of plans.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Everybody should be on the same page with that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your money. I mean, you got to watch it and know what's going on.
This is another big one that I think, and the most important one, in my opinion, for buyers and what they should be looking for is reviews and the reputation of the builder. So fortunately, in southeastern Minnesota here, we've got some great builders. We got a lot of really good builders here. We work with Cravath Homes out at Montgomery Meadows. They are amazing. I mean, some of the best builders we've seen. And however, as I mentioned earlier, they are not all created equal. And
No.
sometimes it's very difficult to tell. Okay. So what would be one of the pieces of advice you would give to somebody if they're wanting to pick a builder or look at builders? What would you say?
Definitely, I would definitely go online and look for reviews. I would try to get this next one is a little bit difficult in trying to find people that built with these builders, only from the standpoint that you're probably going to have to ask the builder who they were, and then they're only going to give you the people that are super happy. Right? You got to do your due diligence and maybe talk to a number of builders, and who knows? Ask them about other builders.
I know I heard this question once and I love it and I've used it. I will say to the builder, if you were going to build your own custom home and you couldn't build it yourself, who would you hire here in town?
That's a great question. I wish we would have
Because
used
they
that.
know these guys have been around each other. They've probably used the same subs, right? The same subcontractors. So they kind of know who's doing good work and who isn't. But I love that question.
Yeah,
So
that is great. I wish we would have used that.
I'll tell you guys, it's super important to see their work. So if you can tour some of their homes, whether it's, one that's already owned by somebody or a model home, so you can see the quality of their workmanship. But I think the even more important determination of how good a builder is their follow-up after the sale. We said earlier, there's so many hands that go into building a home. We're human. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be errors. There are going to be things that don't work. You're buying a lot of products and there are going to be things that don't work properly. That is the nature of the beast, so to speak, right?
Right.
But what does the builder do after the sale? Like when you have something that's not working and you call that builder, how good is their communication back to you, their response time in getting it addressed? That is where I believe the builder is made, in my opinion.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of great builders that can build some really pretty stuff. But if they aren't coming back to help me when it's frustrating me and I'm living in their home, now I don't care how beautiful this home is and how happy I was the day on closing. I now am starting to not like you. I would not recommend you then to anyone if you aren't taking care of me as a customer after the build.
Exactly. Yep.
Now, I'm not saying you got to come back and change a light bulb for me when I need it or I can't reach it or fix a piece of trim 10 years or 15 years later. I'm talking about I've moved in, I'm living here within the first year or two. If there's things that are happening that shouldn't be happening or while I'm under that warranty timeline, you should be addressing those concerns with your new homeowners as a builder ASAP.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
We could probably write a book on this one.
Yeah.
And you guys, you think we
After
should be smart. Like this is why we're doing this podcast because, we learn a lot because we were not so smart during our build processes. I mean, we got better, but we
were probably one of our worst buyers
yeah,
ourselves, right?
for sure.
I
For
mean,
sure.
we thought we knew it all. We thought we didn't have to get second opinions, and we were massively wrong.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and you get sucked in, you guys. This is why builders build model homes, right? They make it look pretty, they stage it. But again, what are you buying? Do you really know what you're buying? Do you really know the reputation of that builder on their quality and their follow through? And I'm promising you, when you have a builder who puts in a discontinued boiler in your home and you don't know it's discontinued, he probably got it for a great price. You probably paid full price. Now it doesn't work. And you have a boiler that you can't get fixed because nobody's got parts for it. So, I mean, that's a personal story, but I'm just saying those are the types of things that you don't want to have happen later.
yeah. Agreed.
That's why I drink.
That's
Anyway.
that's why we both drink. I know this next topic is near and dear to your heart, just because you get asked every time we talk about new construction with buyers. Is there negotiation opportunities on new construction homes, negotiation on the price?
Yeah, I do get asked that a lot. You're right. So, and it's a valid question. People don't understand, but it's hard to answer that because the bottom line is a new construction home is very different from a resale. Someone could have lived in their home for 30 years. They may have varying levels of equity. One person might be very willing to deal on their price because their motivation is high. They've got to relocate for a new job. They just need to get rid of the house. You have a lot more flexibility on pricing when you're buying a resale home. New construction, it's the market of the moment. Our product costs up, our product costs down, but they're hard costs. The builder has to buy everything new right now to build the house. So his costs are today's costs, and here's what they are. So I'm not saying there isn't any negotiating because you've got the costs and then you've got the builder's profit. And they're not out there to build homes for free. Nobody does their jobs for free, and we shouldn't expect that. So really, if there is any give and take, they're giving that out of their profit. So I would just say it's a lot less. There's probably little to none negotiating room on new construction compared to resale. Now, with that being said,
Yeah.
there may be situations where a builder is willing to be a little bit more flexible. Maybe it's the last lot in the development, or it's their last spec home in the area or whatever. And they're like, yep, just want to be done because we're moving on to a new development or whatever, right? So it just might have those opportunities where you could get things for a little bit better pricing, but just overall know that negotiating on new construction, there's probably not a ton of flexibility there.
No, it totally makes sense.
But I will say there are builders though that do incentives like, hey, if you commit to buying a lot and building with us, we'll give you 3 trees for your backyard or $10,000 towards the landscaping. They throw in those builder incentives, obviously, to incentivize you to come on out and build with them. So look around for those things. And I think if you are working with an experienced agent who really knows the developers, the builders, the new developments, where the land is, you'll probably have a better opportunity to maybe find some of those opportunities if you are looking to save a little bit.
And that's a great point, because if buyers will meet with builders by themselves, they have to know that the builder is representing themselves. The builder's looking out for themselves. And they, without a real estate agent that is familiar with new construction, you as a buyer don't have anybody that is on your side that's looking out for you, that can either decipher some of the stuff or help you understand some of the stuff that the builder is talking about, or look at the allowances, and based on what your agent knows about you and your budget, we can help you stay within that, and recommend some things. So I think having your own representation is extremely important, especially in new construction.
Yeah, I agree. There's just a couple of things I want to add to that, especially using an agent who is well-versed in new construction, right? Because it's a very different animal than just selling resale homes. And if they know what they're doing, they have a different perspective they're bringing into those meetings with you and the builder. They're going to know certain questions to ask that maybe you aren't thinking about because they've been through this process so many times. And just having another second set of eyes, right? Someone who is watching out for you, watching to make sure the builder's doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're making site visits, they're rereading the contracts, and making sure someone is representing you 100%. You mentioned the builders representing themselves, and that's not a bad thing, but they're not necessarily out to screw the buyer over, but they're also not someone who's really necessarily looking out 100% for the buyer either. So we have lots of horror stories we could share with you offline in regards to why we feel it is advantageous for you to have representation. Most builders have a representation fee built into their numbers, so why not take advantage and have somebody in your corner? I mean, quick story, building a house, we walked in, we did a site visit. We knew that there was supposed to be a big archway heading into the formal dining room, and the wall was cut straight across.
Right
And
off. Yep.
Bruce noticed it. I probably wouldn't even have noticed it. And he was like, hey, the framers were in there, and the sheetrock's all up and done. And Bruce was like, hey, I think this was supposed to be a big arch. And they were like, no. And there's always plans that are available on site, right? So we went over and found a set of the plans, and sure enough, supposed to have a big arch. So they had to redo that. Now, had that house gotten all the way done and completed, and then you caught that, builder would probably be really hard pressed to go back in, but now you're not getting what you want, right? So having somebody just there to kind of help check on things for you and with you, I just definitely think is in your best interest.
Well, and having that conversation with the builder as a buyer, if you're not represented, is uncomfortable. And buyers might shy away from that. They might talk to each other and just say, you know what, it's not that big a deal. Let's not even talk to it. Let's just let it go. And that's where you and I come in, because we won't let it go. I mean, it's not right. And we become the buffers between the buyers and the builder for that specific reason.
Correct. Okay, this is getting pretty long. So let's wrap this up and talk about specifically Montgomery Meadows.
Yeah.
So this is a development that Bruce and I were lucky enough to purchase along with our partner, John Cravath at Cravath Homes, about 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago, yeah.
Yep. So the original developer started the development, decided that wasn't what they wanted to do. We came in, we were able to purchase it and finish putting in, the roads and all the good stuff out there. But this is why we love this development. I'm going to give you some really awesome features. Okay. And I want you guys to consider this. If you're thinking about building in southeastern Minnesota and specifically the greater Rochester area, this development is right on the border of Rochester and Byron. It is physically in Byron. So it has a Byron address, but we literally, here's the road that now dictates Rochester's here and Byron's here, and this is where the development is. So what I love is that you get the best of all the worlds here. You get Byron, their school district, top rated school district. Everybody wants to be out there if you want to be in that school district. So you get the benefits of that, but you get all the benefits of being a mile down the road from West Circle Drive, Costco, all the restaurants, 5 miles down the road to Mayo Clinic, super close to big city amenities, but you get the benefits of small town Byron and award-winning school districts.
Yeah, it's
Love
like
that.
living in a suburb of Rochester.
It is. But it's hidden. It's like it's not hidden, but it's hidden, right? A lot of people don't know it's there. And it's what's sad is if you go, I'm going to build and I'm going to build in Rochester, it gets overlooked because technically it's a Byron address. This community is Byron, but it's right on the border of Rochester. So to me, it's no different than looking in Rochester. If you want to be, on the west end of town, it's amazing. It's just amazing. And these lots out there, the single family lots are at least a half an acre large, all the way up to over an acre in this first phase. And they're for single family homes. It is open to all builders. So yes, John Cravath builds out their single family homes. But if you have your own special builder that you want to work with, bring them over. We're open to that. And then we have villa home sites, which I think we did a podcast or a video on this at one point in time. What is a villa? And it can be different from development to state to state. So our definition of a villa as it relates to Montgomery Meadows is it is a standalone single family home. It is just on a smaller lot because everybody who lives in a villa gets their lawn mowed and treated and snow removed. So they have no snow or lawn maintenance that they have to worry about. The home is their home. So when the roof needs to be replaced, siding needs to be replaced, whatever, that's theirs. They get to do it. It's not like a townhome, but it's just more simplifying your life. So Cravath Homes builds all of those villas, and then single family is open to any builder that you want. So just a super cool location. You get to overlook all the meadows and the valleys, and it's right by leashes and leads. So if you have a dog, there's a whole dog boarding facility and doggy
Yeah.
daycare right there. And like I said, you tip your toe across the road, now you're in Rochester. You put it back on this side, you're in Byron. So just a really great community that is, I still, unfortunately, not getting the recognition or the visibility that it should.
Well, and getting back to the first thing we talked about, the spec home versus a new construction, we can do either one out there. We have two villa spec homes out there right now, a slab on grade, so a single level,
Yep.
and a walkout, right?
Yep. And a couple other builders have some single family specs out there as well. So
Yep.
yeah,
So yeah,
come check us out, you guys. It's definitely worth the drive over. And certainly, as we mentioned before, you can put your questions or reach out to us directly. We're happy to get you any information on Montgomery Meadows or just new construction in general. Again, that's where our background started. So happy to help you in your process or your just understanding of how it all works. So,
Yep, absolutely. All right,
all
I
right.
think it's time to say goodbye.
All right, we'll say goodbye. Thanks, you guys, for watching again. Like, subscribe, all the things,
Yep.
and we'll see you in the
Comment.
next episode.
Yep. See you later.